in the office on the weekend. I was just cleaning up, not really doing anything crazy. But I was expecting someone. That's when I heard the knock. I turned around, saw my nephew, and said, "Ah, cool, I've been waiting. Come on in. And, sit." I said, "Sit." He looked at me strange as I pulled out the files as I started talking. Now, I'm sure you've heard of this one before, but I figured now was the best time to actually introduce you to this. And you've heard of succubus, right? He simply looks, yeah, the demon that sucks your soul out of your. Sort of. She doesn't quite suck your soul. She sucks your life force. There's a difference. Why not your soul? Well, that way you can come back and then she can rejuvenate her meal. It's to them it's like forcing you to reborn, but even though they can't force you to be reborn, but they don't real you know what? There's a whole bunch to go with that. Let's just say we're food. Okay? They don't want to destroy their food supply. They want it to come back. And let's face it, if you're stupid enough to do it once, you're stupid enough to do it again. Just like these. I dropped the file right in front of him, and he began to look through the cases. I went down each of them. You see this one here? I found this one still lurking around the house looking for food. Just this evil looking. Whew. She was just mean. Well, mean looking. She just kind of stared at us, waiting for us to like get everything up and running and go towards her and just kind of feed her. I don't know. I don't know what the hell was wrong with her. All I know is she was just kind of there. Couldn't you just, shoot her or something? Doesn't quite work that way. Why not? Well, they're partially ethereal. Partially ethereal. Oh yeah, partially. This is what makes them so difficult. I mean, this one here, it just kind of stood there. The fact that I was able to do some certain things as I waved my hand in the sign of the cross. This is one of the things that tends to either hurt them or freeze them in place. If you freeze them in place, you get two choices. You can either force them back to wherever they come from, or you can capture them. Me, they don't usually call me to capture anything, so, it is what it is. It does happen. This one, not so much. If you look at, this one here, this one I captured. But she's just a little thing. Yeah, they like to change the way they look. Honestly, the guy that she had just killed, he honestly, I'm just glad he's dead. He was a friggin' he liked the young, a little too young, and let's just leave it at that. Ugh. Eesh. Seriously, if she hadn't killed him, I would have castrated. We moved on, and I flipped to the next file. This one here, I had to blast out of the air. How did you? How do you do that? Oh, silver buckshot. Actually, number 7 birdshot. That works? Yeah, you see, ethereals have this weird thing with silver. Somebody tried to explain the science to me once, and I was just completely, totally lost. But, yeah, I had to tag this one because this one here, you see the photo? Oh, God, what the hell happened to them? Oh, yeah, these idiots decided to use the old Ouija board. Those are still a thing? Yeah, they're still a thing. I don't know what the hell the Milton Bradley Company was thinking about. I mean, seriously, why in the hell would you have teenagers or young children performing a seance? I mean, that's just dumb. Well, yeah, but what'd you do after you shot it? Oh, I sent her back. She was rather shall we say violent? Yeah, let's just say it's a good thing that holy water will actually seal up some of the cuts. I say this as I'm looking at my arm, grateful that I still have it. Anyway, if you look at the file, you're going to see a multitude of these guys. I mean, they're just totally drained. I mean, literally down to their body fluids. There was nothing there. If you even touched them, they just fell into dust. This is what some of them do. There's different types that are out there. They'll do different things, and of course, certain criteria make them a little more, shall we say, hungry. angry, vicious, all this other fun stuff. And yeah, you could say that she was thirsty and she just drank it up, but seriously, she killed all but one guy. And that dude only survived because she felt us getting close and she tried to book it, not realizing that I can actually track him. Haha. So you can survive them? He asked me. Well, yeah, it's rare, but it happens. Uh, but, we can get into that later. This is the one I wanted to show you. See all these guys here? This entire chess club here? Chess club? Really? Yeah, look, I've seen this happen to an entire football team, so I don't even want to say anything. I've seen a football team, half a lacrosse team, two basketball teams. They're easy to fool. Oh my God. It seems as though they love any of these after school activity groups. They go in there, pretend to be some hot little teenager who's just wanting, they just want more. There's, oh dear God. Some of the videos I've seen, I won't even show you. You're just going to be like, seriously? This is like straight out of some really, really bad porn. Well, it is, basically. They use that to kind of get you guys going. But that wouldn't work on me. Yeah, it would. Don't lie. Why do you think that? Do you really think I'm stupid? How dumb do you think I am? Scale of 1 to 10? Funny. No, listen. They're good at it. Never assume that. Some of the times, if I didn't know I was dealing with one of these chicks, I wouldn't have known. They're so good at hiding. But unfortunately for these guys here, these three, still in a coma. Wait, this is dated like 8 years ago. Yep. This one in the corner here, you just see the feet. That's the teacher. He's dead. She killed him. I don't know what she did, but that dude was completely done by the time we got there, all the way into rigor mortis, and we don't even think he'd been dead for more than 10 minutes. Did you catch this one? No. I got a good look at her, but no, she was quick to disappear. She just got recharged, so she used all she could to book it out of there. I just remember those golden eyes and that freaking red skin she had. They're not, but this one's not red. This one's green. And this one here is Caucasian. This one's black. Yeah, they can change their appearance, no problem. Really? Yeah, if one just wanted to, get down to the bit of a schnook there, boy, you would not be bored, I'll tell you that much. Unfortunately, that's one of the issues. Huh? Well, let me put it to you this way. If you end up enjoying them too much, and I mean just regular pound town situation, you're going to start getting feelings. You got to be careful on that. If you catch feelings for them, they can actually turn you into a servant, and believe me, you do not want that shit. What would they make you do? You know what? As gross as the stuff we've seen, trust me, it gets worse. A lot worse. You really want to go down this rabbit hole? He turns his head and looks back to the file. No. I get close, put a hand on his shoulder, reach for the file, flip it over to one in particular, and said, "This is one of the reasons why you got to be very careful. You see this picture here, these two? Yeah, father and son," he says. "No, they're not. This, I'm guessing 20-year-old, I don't remember exactly, I know he was really young, was looking like this about 3 days later. She was with him for 3 days straight. I don't know what they did. We don't have video proof. We just know she drained his life force in a way that aged him so freaking fast that he was pushing a walker by the time he even got out of the hospital. And that was about 2 weeks later. It was bad. It was just really bad. He's still alive? Oh, hell no. His whole body was falling apart. He was lucky he could even walk at that point. He was in a wheelchair within 3 weeks. I heard he died within a month after that. That's horrible. Yeah, no shit. That's why you gotta be careful with these things. I begin to show him more and more photos, scenes so disturbing that even I, remembering taking some of these photos, was having trouble keeping my stomach in check. Some of them looked completely drained, as though they were mummies without the bandages. In some photos, there's dead, mostly dead because they were torn apart piecemeal, either by their face being bitten completely off, as in the jaw was just gone, along with the upper lips all the way up through the nose. Many times, claws dug so deep into the man's back that they dug in and actually ripped the ribs, tearing everything else underneath. In one case, you could see that the rib cage was ripped out the back, and, well, the spine was over there, and up there. It was disgusting. Yet the majority of them always had the same ones. The bodies looked like their genitalia had been bitten by a ravenous grizzly bear and ripped straight up the body towards the neck. This would cause many of the tendons, the muscle, the skin to rip clean off, exposing the intestines, and they would spill on the ground like a bunch of dead snakes. It was a very violent, gruesome, and painful way to go. And if you look close, you could also see in some cases they had tried to summon one, and whatever they had summoned was very pissed off because there was just nothing but piles of bodies. And in one case, two piles: pile of bodies and pile of heads. Both heads. Pulling away from the pictures, it's like he had reached his limit and asked, "Why are you showing me this?" I simply looked in his eyes and said, "Because you're a teenager, and teenagers do stupid shit. And I'm going to tell you that summoning is rarely ever done correctly. Meaning, you might get something else. Something very, very bad." "What? Have you ever seen this?" "No, but I was there to clean up the mess, and I saw a part of the video. They decided they were going to sacrifice somebody to summon one of these succubi just to, enslave her. Which, by the way, don't try doing. You can make a deal, but don't try enslaving them. They will always come back to hurt you." But when this summoning went wrong, the creature that came out was definitely not a succubus, I'll tell you that much. That big, broad thing with like 8 limbs, all of them with claws, 2 rows of teeth that looked like dog teeth. It was crazy. Yet it had a human face. It was really messed up. Part of it on scales, some of it with some sort of fur. 2 different tails, one of which that wrapped around the leg and wouldn't let go, and the other one that thrashed around. And this thing just killed everybody there, except for one guy. We picked him up later, and he is severely, severely fucked in the head, I'll tell you. I can imagine that would be bad, my nephew says. "So the trick is just don't summon him then." "Oh no, that doesn't work either." "Huh?" "Yeah, many of the succubus just wander around. They've been summoned, but they killed the summoner, so they're just kind of wandering around looking for prey." I mean, there was actually one we heard about. I pulled Overwatch on this guy for a while, but he actually didn't summon this thing. He caught it. I don't know how in the hell he did this. We still don't know. Somehow he caught this succubus and he made a deal with it. It stays at his house. I actually dressed up as a delivery guy once, and, well, when I delivered, let's just say she's enough that even I was like, damn, if I didn't know she was a succubus, I would have drooled on the floor, and that would have been the only fluid coming out of me. "Really? That's gross." "No, you haven't seen one yet, trust me." Unfortunately, one of our hunters decided that he wanted the head of the succubus because, well, we get paid for that sort of thing. And yeah, that didn't go so well. It turns out that the human was protecting that one, but not just humans either. It was messed up. We did find the body, at least what was left of it. Most of the critters had got at it, but we found a couple of bullet holes in him. We found claw marks. There were parts ripped out of him. He was in many pieces. I mean, when we found him, he was there, up there, and over that way. It was just, we're like, you idiot. We checked to see what was going on. Apparently, it wasn't just succubus claws that tore this thing up, but it was also werewolves. What, werewolves are real? Yeah, lycanthrope is real. You don't know that either? Dude, where the fuck have you been? Oh, wait, I forgot. The entire history of the world's been hidden from most everybody. Sometimes I forget about that, but anyway, back to this before I end up off in the weeds somewhere. Just if you find somebody protecting them, just all you have to do is find out if they're actually working together or if he's the slave. If he's the slave, you might as well just kill him because it's better off for him. Believe me, we've seen what happens when you actually take out the succubus and the guy realizes what he's done. A lot of times they just off themselves right there. It is just crazy. I don't even have pictures to show you the worst ones. I don't want to see the pictures of the worst ones. Okay, okay. He then asked, "Wait, what happens? How does a succubus control you anyway?" Oh, that's actually beyond simple. You see, once you start becoming intimate with them, they can start to control you. A lot of times, that's when you start growing feelings for them. Even as guys, we do get feelings just a tiny, tiny little bit, and they work on that. And they do everything they can to make it so you desire them as much as possible. Does it have to be the feeling of love? No. Desire works just fine. And for the love of all that is holy, never, and under any circumstances, ejaculate inside one of them. Holy shit. You are instantly their servant at that point. This is why the man said, always wear protection. Take it with you, dispose of it, get rid of it, because if she gets a hold of that, she doesn't need much, and she has got you. You are pretty much just done. You're not even going to reach the moment of clarity that just kind of you're like, oh crap, what have I just done? No, she is going to own your ass and everything else. And believe me, you do not want a succubus to own your ass. That would be bad. Remember what I told you about a bunch of guys ending themselves? Yeah? Well, there you go. Use your imagination if you dare. Before I could even continue, I actually saw him do a full body shiver thinking about how bad things could actually be. After a few moments, he asked me about how they could be ethereal and still be in our dimension, our plane of existence. Well, I had to explain that they're basically ethereal and they become physical when they want to, but it takes a lot of power. How much power? Let's just say a lot. Okay, you've gone out and you've gone running, right? You've gone running and then you've gone to the gym. Yeah. How tired were you? I just want to lay down and take a nap. Yeah, well, try doing that same exercise regimen about 4 or 5 times in a row and you get the idea. And now, how thirsty were you after that? How much water could you just absolutely suck down? A lot. Aw, I wish you hadn't put it that way. Yeah, well, they're hungry. They're thirsty. Yeah, ravenously thirsty. And that's what makes them dangerous. And they're still demons. So, I mean, you just have to deal with that at that point. But the kicker is, once they become part of our reality, they are susceptible to our laws, which means physics is still a thing. When you reach the ethereal plane, physics is kind of a suggestion. It's like the speed limit. Something people see but go, fuck it. It doesn't really matter. Well, not unless somebody pulls you from the ethereal plane, of course. It sounds really, really bad. I mean, these things are really dangerous. How could you possibly fight them? I mean, I don't carry a pistol. I don't carry silver with me. Oh, then there's one best way to fight them. You fight them with prayer, with the Lord's Prayer, and you reach out with your own heart to God. Really? Could it be that simple? Do you ever find a succubus in a church? I don't know. But let me answer your question. No, you won't. Or if you do, they are so subdued they barely have the energy to even speak. They just keep their head down. They're in there just for show. It's just crazy. And they'll never recite it. Ever. To them, that is just so draining. And they're after the power. They're after all that. They just want to be able to control things. They want to pull power from you. But when you do this, when you scream out, when you remember that you go in the other direction, you don't go down to where they come from. You go up. You reach up, reach out, and there you go. They're pretty much done. They lose their abilities. I use this all the time when I want them to hold still. Remember, I told you I used the Lord's Prayer to lock one into place? Same idea. He then looked confused and said, "Well, what about prayers from other faiths?" I said, "Well, I don't know. Good luck with it. That's all I can say. I don't use anything but mine." With this, he slumped in the chair, and it took him a second before he came up with another question. "How do I know if it's a succubus? I mean, is there anything I can see on them?" "Oh, no, you won't see shit unless they want you to know. And if they want you to know, then they already have you. They own you. You are, at least body, belongs to them. They cannot break your soul. It doesn't exactly belong to you. That being said, they can possess the body." "Well, that's messed up. How many of these have you faced?" Not many. Here, I'll show you. This one, this one, this one, and this one. Oh no, wait, this one too. But I couldn't even get that. She just kind of poofed off like a fart in the wind. How'd she do that? I told you they're partially ethereal, and they can go in the astral plane. That makes them very, very elusive, hard to track down. If they're able to break away from whatever charms, totems, or whatever you're using to block them, they're just gone, and they can just reappear anywhere. He then got really wide eyes, asking, "Do you have a video of one I could see? I really want to know what one looks like. I mean, in person." Oh, that's, you know what? I'll do you one better. Hold on a moment." I reached over, pulled out a talisman, pulled the cross from underneath my shirt, also pulled a few items out, and began to chant too. A few moments later, you could feel the pressure inside the room just outside the office. I began to call for one, and we saw on the edge of the table a pillar of salt begin to rise up about 8 inches wide, and it stood about 14 inches tall. It was there for only a second, and then the pillar broke, and this small little demon began to shake off the salt, coughing and gagging because she didn't like the taste of it, trying to flick it out of her hair and off her wings, slipping her tail side to side as she began to pull herself out of the pillar itself. This little naked demon girl looked up after she was able to compose herself and said, "Okay, what? So do you need something?" I looked over at my nephew, motioned towards this young little demon that was there. Said, "This here is Talia. Talia, this is my nephew." As they greet each other, I reach over, put my hand down. Talia gets on my hand, and I go over towards the sink. I begin to put everything on gentle, and she can take a nice warm shower to wash all the salt off. As she bathes, I explain how she helps. She's able to sense other demons, and she's able to point succubi out in particular. They don't like the fact that she's my little censor, but it's the fact that we've made a little bit of a deal. As long as she's here, then she's safe. No other demons can come in. And also the fact that, well, I can do something else to help her out. My nephew looks at me sideways. "Something else?" Seriously, at her size? Then he looks me up and down, trying to think of something funny to say. With that, a small voice rings out. "Small? Oh no, you... Hold on a moment." And with that, she begins to grow taller and taller and taller until she is almost 6 feet tall, standing in the sink, having to duck a little bit as her horns smack against the ceiling along with her wings. Her tail slowly swings around sideways, back and forth, her absolutely gorgeous form now wet and shimmering in the lights. She then disappears as though she just faded from existence. and then appears right in front of the nephew, leaning down, looking right into his eyes. So, what do you think, handsome? You think you want to take a ride? With that, they begin to flirt a little bit until I go, "You two, knock it the hell off. Talia, I told you about this." Oh, let a girl have her fun. I let them flirt a little bit before I tell Talia that I just wanted to show her, but don't worry, I have the standard payment ready. Before she leaves, I get out the oil and I begin a protective prayer to all the saints sent in Jesus' name. It's uncomfortable for her, but she leaves soon afterwards. My nephew asks, "What the hell was that?" And I say, "Well, look, the demon world is very dangerous, extremely dangerous. Okay? So whenever I call her, one of the payments is I have to give her a protective prayer, like I just did. There's a whole lot more to all that. No, I'm not going to get into it. So, look, just understand, she works for me. Just like, remember I told you the guy had one in his house? I know he's not a slave. So he hasn't, plowed her through, and I am not going to, no matter how good Talia looks, I'm not doing that, okay? I'm not going to end up being any demon servant. That's just stupid. He looks kind of slyly, still thinking about that gorgeous woman that was in front of him. So, oh, come on. You know you want to fuck her. I mean, haven't you ever even grabbed those oversized tits? Grabbing a file, I slap him across the head with it. Be careful what you wish for. You might get a visit from her other self or her brothers. What other self? What do you mean other self? What, you never heard of Incubus? What? I told him to sit down and put a file in front of my nephew. Opened it and he saw the pictures. He immediately couldn't stomach what he saw, as there was many on there who had been victims of the incubus. And the incubus, when they get violent, they take things out in the most egregious ways possible. They take their violence out on you in ways that are absolutely reprehensible, usually not killing you right away, unless many of them are completely perforating you with something that should not be inside you, with something the size that should never, ever even attempt. In some cases, these were succubus that decided to get a hold of those that had summoned and abused them after they had gotten a hold of what they needed to transform into incubus and then give the summoner back exactly what he gave to her, but actually threefold. And most times, this was more than they could handle. If they didn't die right there, they wanted to so bad. My nephew left the office after he read the quick report about how one was now paralyzed thanks to what they did, with the absolute destruction of the base of the spine and the cracking of the pelvis. Not only that, his jaw was ripped halfway off, needing a lot of reconstruction. His voice box was just gone. The esophagus was split down. How he was able to survive some of this was insane. But the moment he was able to pick up a pistol, well, he didn't have to suffer anymore. After my nephew left the office, I picked up all the files and began putting them away as I heard him throwing up outside. All I could think to myself was, well, I guess that's enough for today. Hello, everybody. This is Syntax. Thank you so much for joining me on today's chapter. Before I go, I gotta send out a quick thank you to one of my supporters, Erica Gem. And I need to send out a big thank you to Brian Kemp. Thank you both so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, ejecting.